So we are live now. So I'm about to share it to your page so it'll be visible.
All right.
And then I'll switch the microphone so you'll be able to you won't be able to hear me till the show start.
All right. Sounds good.
And welcome to our Facebook viewers. We're about to start the radio show in just a minute. And I did share it so it'll be live on your page. I'm going to switch the microphone so you won't be able to hear me till the show starts.
All right.
SLP 1069, Winterville, Ayden, Grifton, Southside, Greenville, North Carolina.
I try to be a better man, but folks just don't understand. Try to do all I can to deal with this addiction in me. Lord, I wanna change. I can't stay the same, but the sins that in my vein is trying its best just to kill me.
Yes, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We'd like to welcome you to another episode of our Uturn Show here on Awesome Radio, 106.9 FM here in Greenville. If you haven't already been to the website, please go to our website, www.wbisawesomeradio.org, and you can download all of our listening apps, either on Alexa, on Google Play, or the Apple Store. Also, if you're in the Greenville area, please check us out on the local GPAT 23 television. Also, we do have a Roku YouTube channel, so you can catch all of our shows, not only the Uturn Show, but all of the shows here on Awesome Radio. You can check us out, and also please feel free to call in. It's a live-in call-in show, 252-756-2008. And I do want to welcome our guest today. Very honored and privileged to have this gentleman on the show, man. He's an entrepreneur, father, community activist, so much more. Mr. Tracy Suggs, how you doing, sir?
Man, Richard, I'm doing great, and thank you for all those kind words. I greatly appreciate the opportunity to be here to speak with you, brother. Just I do want to say I'm proud of you, everything you're accomplishing, everything you're doing out in the community, and believe me, it's inspiring. So it's a great opportunity to be here with you.
Man, I certainly thank you, man. But to be honest, God gets all the glory, man. I thank God for, allowing, both of us to be here today, and all of our listening audience. I thank you guys for listening and tuning in each week. And we're going to get right into it. For many who don't know, Tracy's from my hometown of Goldsboro, North Carolina, which is a very close-knit community. So, we're going to get into a little bit about the background before we talk about everything that he's doing now. And we spoke about, coming up in Goldsboro, and the fact that, a lot of families and a lot of people don't have fathers in their household. But unlike a lot of people, Tracy, and like myself, we're fortunate to have fathers in the home, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, man, my dad was very instrumental in my upbringing, very instrumental in my brother's life. So yeah, our father being there, man, is just the impact of him being in my life, the impact of having his leadership, his guidance. As you stated before, to God be the glory. I feel blessed that I've had him there to guide me throughout my life.
Okay. And what are some of the things that you've noticed either then or in hindsight. Because I know when I was little, my father, he was there, but he was also, he tried to instill that leadership. But I sort of took it for granted because a lot of my friends didn't have their fathers there, so they had a little more freedom to do anything. Did you go through that stage, or were you always welcoming, of the fact that he was trying to lead and steer you in the right direction?
Hey man, when you're looking outside the window, it always looks better outside. It always looks better outside. It always looks like everyone else is having more fun than you are. It always looks like somebody's having more opportunity to, looking back on it now, more opportunity to explore who they are, to have a good time, to have fun, to be a kid. So yeah, it always looked great outside. But hindsight, when I look back, I wouldn't trade it for anything, man. The lessons that I learned from him, the love and devotion that I now look back and see that he totally dedicated that portion of himself to his family, to bringing up me and my brother as young men, little boys, young men, just having him be instrumental in our lives, man. It looks like so much of a blessing right now, and it is. But during that time, you're right. Everything looked better outside.
That's a good way to put it. I never thought about it like that. And he's mentioning his brother. If anybody don't know, Chris Suggs, if anybody's from Goldsboro watching, him, Chris Suggs, they always had that infectious smile, and I think that everybody says the same thing about you as well. So, how did you kind of avoid the pitfalls of being influenced by peers? I am the first to admit that I was somewhat influenced by my peers, which allowed me to travel down a different path. So how did you resist being enticed by some of the things that a lot of our peers fell victim to?
I mean, there were some things that really, that fear of disappointing my father. That was early on for me. And when I say we were really close knit, my dad, he worked day and night. He hustled during the day, doing lawn service, hauling off trash, whatever he could do to hustle. During that time in Goldsboro, before all the social media, internet, and all the different ways you can market and advertise and brand, no business cards, it was for him, just put an ad in the news artists.
Okay.
Saying, you know what I'm saying? I will cut grass, things of that nature. But whenever he was not working late night at Cherry Hospital, he would come home. You had chores you had to do. You had to be equipped. He taught us discipline early on, because he had to cut grass, so we had to have lawnmowers loaded up. We had to had the gas ready. He was gonna sharpen his blades. We had to have everything loaded up on the truck. So that went on throughout that grass season. Then in the fall, when school was out, it was still more hustling to do. We were raking leaves, hauling off trash. He was selling wood. So really the pitfalls of life, I avoided a lot of those pitfalls because my dad kept us hitched to his side. Mm-hmm. There's something about that leadership and that vision that he had for his boys. My dad would talk about the pitfalls. He would give us lessons about if you hang around the wrong crowd, even if you're not doing anything wrong, someone will point you out and say he rolls with that crowd. So he always taught us lessons about keep your words your bond, keep your name good. We were always getting those lessons hammered to us. We were in church. So a lot of that time, when you have idle time, and, or idle mind, they talk about that devil's workshop. Yeah. He's able to play around with you, and you'll look around at those things that I said were outside the window, and that would entice you. But my dad kept us close to his hip, whether we wanted to or not. So that was that growing stage where you would fight against it. And there were some things that I did that I would say were not the way I should have done things, But I really think my dad keeping us close to his hip and keeping us, really nurturing us, man, in a way that my mother nurtured us in a different way. My dad nurtured us by saying, hey, I'm going to keep you by my side. I'm going to discipline you. He put that fear of God in us.
Yeah, definitely. You know what I'm saying? I think Douglas Brody says Mr. Stuggs is a great man. Appreciate
it. He is, man. I appreciate him. Brody's like the little brother, man. He's one of my little bros from North End. So
okay.
I appreciate him saying that because my dad is a great guy, uh, not a perfect guy, you know, as I'm saying, because we all have our faults. But he's a great man, and always his focus was on how can I better the life of someone else, and that kind of trickled down to me and was passed down to me
Yeah.
through all of my efforts.
And that's exactly what you're doing now. But we're going to get back into that. But we a lot of, you know, you mentioned, you know, your involvement with sports, you know, coming up, you know, whether it's football and things like that. And you talked about the brotherhood. How you know important was that, you know, to have that camaraderie like through high school and you know, college. What role does that play, you know, in the life of a young man?
Well, it plays a big role for me, man, because early on, we talk about, me and you mentioned before, we talk about playing at the boys' club and playing football then at that early age, playing Pee Wee League football at the boys' club. It even started before then, playing football in the street with your neighbors out in the street. You built that brotherhood with those guys. So after the homework was done on Saturday mornings, our love of sports, that was the way we emulated our favorite heroes. We got out there and we could be a Tony Dorsett, we could be a Jerry Rice, we could be a Joe Montana. You know, we could do that. But for us in the neighborhood, that gave us a brotherhood. And that trickled into sports in other areas because those coaches were like fathers to us. And they were very instrumental in teaching us about teamwork. Whereas if you were home individually, you wouldn't necessarily get that, especially like we talked about, you came from a single parent home. But when you got on that football field or that basketball court or that baseball diamond, you were taught teamwork. And teamwork was that seed, and we talk about seeds of leadership. That was that seed planted for you to know about brotherhood. And if you were a young girl or a young woman, you were taught about sisterhood through sports. But that's what initially engaged you. And that leadership with the coaches, man, early on in life was very instrumental because they were like our fathers when the fathers weren't around. They kind of echoed what our fathers echoed, but they taught us about winning. They told us about discipline. They pushed us to the limit physically and mentally. We got pushed to the limit. And coming from the inner city, we still got lessons taught to us about staying out of trouble, not being in the wrong place at the wrong time, hitting the books, education. We were still taught those same principles that we got at home, but outside of the home, they echoed and it resonated with us because now I'm not just hearing it at home. I'm hearing it out here with these coaches, my coaching staff. Or if I'm not getting it home, man, I'm hearing something that I'm not hearing. I'm getting that love or that representation of it that I'm not getting at home. So that brotherhood for all of us, that brotherhood was essential, man. You talk about, I had a brother, Chris, and love him to death, but I was able to have other brothers outside of the household. And you built that relationship, and some of those became lifelong relationships.
Yeah, still to this day, definitely. And hello, Felicia. I think Felicia Mitchell says hello. And moving on to college, you said you got a scholarship, went to Fayetteville State University, shot to Fayetteville State.
Bronco Pride.
Broncos.
Pride.
Okay, yeah, Broncos. It threw me off for a minute.
All day.
So yeah, so you talked about you know, I read a post earlier where you were playing and then you actually got an injury, right?
Yeah, so, I tore my ACL playing against Winston-Salem State midway in my junior year.
All right. So you spent all your life playing football, got a scholarship, and you know, being you know, engrossed in that brotherhood that you just talked about. How did that injury, you know, kind of affect you physically and also more importantly mentally, you know, as a young man who had something that you've been doing for the bulk of your life taken away?
Yeah, man, I could take that back, Rich, man, a little bit further before Fayetteville State, but it'll tie back into it. When you talk about being engaged in athletics, I played football, I ran track, I played basketball. Always being engaged and having that leadership around me, having that brotherhood around me, that becomes a part of your lifestyle. That becomes a part of who you are. And that really became a part of who I was. I can think back to my Fayetteville State coach, Coach Harper, Jerome Harper, who came from Alabama State. And I think all the way back to one of my first coaches that really impacted my life, which is Coach Durham in junior high school.
Carver Durham, rest in peace, Carver Durham.
I owe Coach Durham a lot, and I know some other guys and teammates and other young men in Goldsboro who could say the same. When I was in junior high, playing athletically a sport for the school, that meant everything. You can play park ball, you can play recreation, but if you made the team, you made the cut, if your name was on that list at the school, that was a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Now, you talk about me and my development, becoming an athlete, I became in a situation where that brotherhood really got engaged, where the weight of the world now was on, man, you're playing for the school. So Coach Durham gave me that opportunity. He was one of the first coaches to say, I believe in you, and I'm going to start you. I believe in your skill level. So that created a brotherhood with some of the guys I still have great relationships now, like a Mike Moore, a Derek Dickens, a Mauricio Howard, a John Graham. All those guys that I played with in junior high, we built that sports relationship all the way through to where when I went to Goldsboro High School after playing JV ball and we had a successful year, didn't play football. The last time I played football was with the Giants at the Boys Club.
The Giants at the Boys Club.
Giants at the Boys Club. Everybody remember the Jets, the Giants, the Lions.
Yeah.
You know, all those squads like that, going on base and playing ball. We all remember those days. Pancake Day on Saturday.
Yep. That was the best day of the year.
That was the best day of the year. But taking it back to that leadership and these coaches and how I missed playing the game when I tore my ACL, that was that bond that started with Coach Harper, Coach
Durham.
Coach Durham, Carver Durham. That leadership and that bond and somebody believing in you that much started there. And then when I got to Goldsboro High School, that was passed on through Coach Bowman. Coach Bowman instilled in me, that leadership and that belief in me that Coach Durham passed along to him to believe in me. So people started believing in your work ethic and what you're being able to overcome challenges. And that passed on to Coach Lee. And one of the most profound things that I remember about Coach Norvell Lee, man, and how he really impacted my life, I knew what kind of legendary coach he was. I initially tried out for the varsity squad after playing JV, successful on the JV level, and I was cut. Never been cut since I tried to play organized ball for the school. And that devastated me, man. But when I talk about the impact of coaches, I had Coach Durham, Coach Bowman, and I'm gonna also say Coach Hooks, who was the women's basketball coach.
Okay.
They all went to Coach Lee and echoed that he made a mistake by cutting me. You talking about this legendary coach, and I wouldn't necessarily say a mistake. They said he would be an addition to the team you wouldn't regret because they knew about my character, my work ethic. And I look back on that now, I can word it that way. During that time, I couldn't.
Yeah.
But as a man, I can look back and say, man, they believed in my character. They believed in my work ethic. They believed in who I was as a young man. I remember being in class and why this is so impactful. Someone came and said, and that was the time if Coach Lee spoke, that was it. I was probably in English class or something like that. And my mom made sure education was very prominent and that I took college prep classes and I prepared to go to college whether I was going or not. But long story short, Coach Lee sent someone to get me out of class. I didn't know why he was getting me out of class. And as I went to his office, in only a way that Coach Lee could say it, he was like, hell, son, I'm going to do something that I rarely do. And I can't remember if I've ever done this before. And someone else might have the same story about Coach Lee and what they've done for him. But he said, I'm going to go back on my initial decision. I'm going to put you on the team. Because of what others have said about you, because of these coaches that I respect and how they came to bat for you. That resonates with me now more than ever, because he didn't put me on the squad because of my skill level or what he thought about me as a talent. It was the echoing about my character, my work ethic, and that I would be an asset, not necessarily to the team scoring or defensively or whatever, but this young man deserves this opportunity. And for him to listen to those coaches, I know people got their stories about Coach Lee, stories about winning championships and winning conference championships, stories that they can echo him saying things to them, being there for him. But my story is him taking a chance on a young man, not because he necessarily believed in me. He believed in what others said about me. That's powerful, man. That impacted my life.
Right there.
That's my personal story with Coach Lee, taking me to South Carolina basketball camp with these other guys to the University of South Carolina and believing in me because, or I'm going to say, not believing in me, believing what others said about me. And then Coach James giving me the opportunity to play football as a DB, just telling me, hey, come over here and try out. And I hadn't played since the boys club. For him to believe in me, later on him and Mr. Scott Penn and helping me and Derek Dickens go to Carolina football camp, him telling my father, your son will get a football scholarship, him taking me and so many others in that Nissan Central to from campus to campus to campus, from South Carolina to VA, making sure we had an opportunity to play ball. That all led to that brotherhood that I was so used to. That was family. So you talk about tearing the ACL when I go to Coach Harper, who really gave me the strongest life lessons as far as never quitting, never giving up, having that true grit mentality, that foxhole.
We gotta take our first station break, Tracy. We'll be right back on 106.9 FM Uturn Show.
If your life is one that reflects radical, authentic Christianity, then you're making people feel better rather than bitter after having had contact with you. Hey, this is Debbie Griffith with Everyday Matters. No one ever came into contact with Jesus and went away the same. An authentic Christian strives to love and live a life as
Can you hear me?
I got you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we on station break, man. So we got about a minute station break. And then when we come back, we'll probably go on to Trayana and her story.
All right, gotcha.
And then we'll get right into the protect your skull and the hydration. And then also
I'm enjoying the conversation, man.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. That's a good jewel though, man. Like for somebody to give you a chance because you've done so well by other people's standards,
Right.
That's something that say your name or your reputation will follow you.
That's what it's about.
Yeah, man. So anybody listening to that, man, definitely pay attention to that. Where whatever opportunities you are given, make sure you do it the best, because that could lead to other opportunities, like you said, man. So that's powerful. But I'm gonna switch the mics real quick and get back to the radio show. We got 10 minutes before it come on. 10 seconds.
Or contact us by phone 252-756-3137.
Lord, I hope this ain't too late for me to die up in these streets. Oh Lord, can you help me?
Welcome back to the Uturn Show here on Awesome Radio 106.9 FM. I'm your host, Richard Taylor, here with a special guest, Mr. Tracy Suggs. And we were talking about sports. We're going to get into a little bit of personal victories. I know that you are married. How long you been married now?
Oh man, we got married in 2000, man. We're about to hit 22 years here in October.
22 years. So, and you guys have what, three children from
Yeah,
that union?
three children, man. We got three children, two beautiful daughters and one handsome son. My son is 16, middle child, she's just turned 20, and our oldest daughter, Treyana, is going to turn 27 here in July.
Okay. And if anybody knows Tracy, you've been following him. I've been following him, and I've been inspired by him and his daughter's relationship. Treyana is the oldest daughter, and if I'm not mistaken, she was born with Down syndrome, correct?
Yeah, she was born with Down syndrome.
Okay. And with that relationship and with that growth, I know, were there any challenges, starting off as a youth, in her youth, with dealing with that and any struggles that she may have had? Just what was that experience like?
Man, the biggest part of that as a parent, a young parent, we had her very early in college. Just as a parent, man, when you find out your child has special needs, whatever it may be, autism, Down syndrome, or physical handicap, that is devastating. That within itself was the first hurdle, that mental hurdle, the mindset to get over that disappointment. And before that disappointment can even turn into joy, just think about how emotional women are, and they're emotional creatures, and how much of an impact that had made on my wife just to get that information. Your firstborn child, you're giving birth to a child, and now you're sitting in a nursery, or you're sitting on that floor, and you're hearing everybody else celebrate about the birth of a new child, and you're seeing all these families come in happy. And I rushed up from college. I was actually still in Fayetteville at Fayetteville State. My wife had taken that semester off. So when it came time for the big moment, and I got that phone call, I was actually working at MJ Sophie part-time, and I got the phone call, and one of my guys, Daniel Ellis Dink, he drove me up to Charlotte from Fayetteville, and we got to the hospital, and the first thing that I can remember was her mother grabbing me and rushing me to the nursery and pointing out Treyana to me, and I could see how beautiful she was. Okay. And didn't notice anything. We saw how beautiful she was. Went back to the room, and I saw my wife's face, and I saw us, the other family members that were in there, and there were doctors in the room. And when I walked in, that's when we got the news that she was diagnosed with Down syndrome. And they started telling us about the different features, the traits. They started talking about, the toes and the spread in between her toes. They started talking about the small nasal passages, the facial features that were very distinctive to children with Down syndrome, the educational pitfalls, or let's say the educational hurdles that she would have to overcome. Man, this is all like in that moment, from just rushing up to see your child, seeing her in the nursery, coming in and seeing your girlfriend, my girlfriend at the time, her face, and trying to gather all these emotions and like, is this real? You go through the whole God, why? All these things, just being real. You like, why me? God, why? Why this to my child, my beautiful child? Trying to gather all that information together. Everything that a parent with special needs goes through initially when you first find out, hey, there's an issue with my child developmentally. That's such a load to carry. So those were the first hurdles, the mental hurdles. That first night in the hospital, me and Keisha held each other. We cried like babies because we didn't know what was next. Yeah. We didn't know what to do. We were told that everything was normal up to that point. All of her checks, everything to that point, as far as her prenatal checks, everything during the course of the birth, the pregnancy, everything checked out fine. But to get hit like that, it was devastating. Overcoming that mental hurdle, like I said, to try to regroup and be there for each other. And then her having heart issues very early. She had to have surgery very, very early. She had a small hole in one of the ventricles leading to her heart. So that had to be repaired somewhere around 8 months, if I'm not mistaken. So went through the Sanger Clinic here in Charlotte. So you're talking about heart surgery, being diagnosed with Down syndrome, all of those, man, hit very hard for a young man and a young woman. For us, it was devastating. It was crushing.
So how long, and of course I commend you for getting over that, because I see our relationship now. Like if you guys see them out to the games and all the things that Trayana's doing now, like you would never thought that they ever had this experience. So once again, I commend you and I thank God that for giving y'all the strength. But how long did that emotional, I guess, for lack of a word, pity, last for you guys until you guys picked it up and said, okay, we this is a blessing instead of something that we should be sad about?
Yeah, it was a situation where it took time. It was stages, man. I can really tell you it was stages where you had to see. It was stages where God was developing us as parents, developing us to be the parents for Trayana. And it took us out of that self-pity mode. And speaking for myself, I can't speak for my wife, but speaking for myself, it took us out of that mode of where it was like we were looking in a mirror saying what we were going through. Even though at the same time, our daughter was our main focus.
Yeah.
And we're trying to grow up. We're trying to learn ourselves as individuals. We're trying to learn ourselves in our relationship, even though we're there for each other. We're not married at the time. We're still very young. But over time, what happens is God has a way of showing you the better side of life through your challenges. Because within your challenges, the victories become that much larger.
Okay.
When they tell you that she may not start walking before 23 months because of developmental issues and her muscle tissues being weak and developing that strength, and to have that support group like her father taking her to physical therapy when Keisha went back to school and I was still in college, and they took her to physical therapy. Her mother was there and said, look, you guys go finish school, we'll take care of Trayana. And when we come home, we see the developmental successes. We see her walking long before they said she was going to start walking. When they talk about 23 months, I think before 13 months she was walking.
Wow.
So you're talking about all that time between 23 months, almost 2 years, to her doing it in 13 months.
Mm-hmm.
You start seeing her recognize you. You start seeing her smile when you come around. Okay. All those things like that allow you to get out of that worldly flesh and to get into a spiritual mindset without even you knowing you get in a spiritual mindset where God is saying, I've given you a gift, not something to hinder you. So it became like we had this precious gift. And when we went out in public, you overcame the hurdles. I was real defensive early on because I would see someone look at her a certain way, and that as a protector, as a father, you'd be like, man, what? You know?
I got you.
But over time, it became something we recognize how much love she had within her. Down syndrome, individuals with Down syndrome and those young kids, one of the biggest traits that they have, not a physical trait, is their heart. They're very loving. They are very affectionate. Almost to the point where we had to say, no, Trayana, you can't hug everybody. No, Trayana, you can't hug everybody. That's how she was.
Yeah.
No, Trayana, you can't wave at everybody. No, Trayana, you can't shake everybody's hand. And it was like,
right, though.
That child of God, that gift that God gave her, initially we were pulling it back for her safety. Mm-hmm. But God has a way of allowing you to see those victories. And I know just for one example of victory, it's very, very profound to us right now, was something as simple as playing a video game. We never thought I would sit down and be able to play a video game with her. But Keisha, by happenstance, bought her a video game, a GameCube, and for the first time, I saw her playing it.
All right, we gotta take our last station back. We coming right back here with Tracy Stuggs here on 106.9 FM.
Partial funding for this program is brought to you by Mitchell's Memorial Funeral Home of Winterville, 2423 E Winter Village Drive. Encourages you to plan ahead now so you will not have to think about it later. 252-702-1880 or 252-917-4420. Mitchells, a generational name your family have trusted for years. Now it's your turn. Ask for Mr. Donovan Phillips, the funeral home manager, for pre-need arrangements. 252-702-1880 or 252-917-4420. Mitchell's Memorial Funeral Home of Winterville. Thank you for your support.
And we are back here on 106.9 FM, Awesome Radio. It's a very inspiring story. Tracy Suggs. Just a few comments. Charmaine Newcutt, I guess she's talking about Triana. She's such an inspiration. And Douglas Bro said, most definitely love my cousin. Joy has it. I love her. Definitely. So we left off when you said she was actually playing a video game.
Yeah, just to sit. Keisha bought her a video game, and that's what Triana has gifted us to not overlook the simple things and how beautiful the simple things are. I sat down beside her, and as she was playing the video game, and I get emotional thinking about it now, tears came to my eyes because I was seeing her play this video game and go from level to level and make decisions and go left instead of right, go up, go down, choose where to go to the next level. Those things like there are next stage. The simplicities of that, I completely got lost in that moment. It was an out-of-body experience. So I sat there and I cried like a baby, watching her play the game. And she not even noticing I'm crying. And this was probably, she was maybe 4 or 5 years old.
Oh, wow.
I'm in that moment, suspended. Because when you think about a child with special needs and the information they were giving you from the hospital from day one, I don't know if people read the book or you heard the title, Great Expectations.
Yeah, I remember that book.
Each of us, when we're born, we have great expectations placed upon us. There's an excitement around the birth of a child. A baby boy, dad is excited about what baby boy is going to be. That little girl, mom and dad, they're excited about that little girl. Mom's excited about the boy too, and all the possibilities of life. What they're going to be, the doctor, the lawyer, the football player, the entertainer, the educator. But imagine being born not to great expectations, but great limitations.
Oh my.
When they're telling you from day one, not what you're going to be able to do. From day one, second one. From the first breath, once they find out what you're diagnosed with, or they say something is wrong or you have a disability, they're telling you not what you're going to be able to do. It's doom and gloom. For us, it's your child is not going to be able to do this. Your child won't read past the 4th grade level. They're going to have trouble walking. They're going to have trouble speaking. They're going to have trouble doing all sorts of things. They won't get a normal education. So that's what Triana was faced with. I wasn't faced with that. Keisha wasn't faced with that. Triana was faced with that. That's what the world, society, educators, doctors, based on their theories, their medicine was placed on them. So the great expectations that came from great limitations went back to when I said God allows you to have great reward from great challenges if you just stick to him and close to him. We were close to him even if we didn't know we were close to him. We were close to God because we felt like we had nothing else to lean on but him. And Triana, she guided us the entire way.
Yeah. I remember what the other night you told me that you've learned so much from her. And you mentioned how she graduated from high school. She just matter of fact, before the show, she actually called you and said, "Hey, I need to show you something." Right. So right before we went on the air, she called and his screen went black, and we was just talking about her. So she's definitely a blessing. Once again, I follow all the posts where you guys are at the game. She's a big Carolina fan, and I just see. Once again, the love y'all have for her, but the zeal that she has for life, not even knowing her, but she's definitely an inspiration to so many people. So I thank you for sharing her you know, with the world, man, because, you know, so many people have those misconceptions about, you know, children with special needs. But, you
Yeah,
know,
we thank God, man. I thank you for those words, man. And we thank God, and I thank God for her presence in our lives. My wife thanks God every day. We both thank God every day for the impact she's made on our life, even with her mantra, "What's next?" and I got this. And you mentioned about her graduating from high school. She didn't graduate from high school with a diploma. She got a certificate of completion, and she was able to complete the requirements so that she could walk just like everyone else and take her day in the sun and graduate with that class. In which, well, that was a great inspiration because that was all led by Trayana as well. Because, like I told you before, she made the decision that that's how she wanted to live her life. She made that decision, and a lot of people say, "What do you do with Trayana? And what have you guys done with her? She's so special." But some of the same sentiments that you have exhibited out to all the listeners, to all of our family members, our friends, people in the Goldsboro, Charlotte community, everybody who's ever said anything great about Trayana or impacted her life greatly, we greatly appreciate you because um, she's always been that one to say what's next, and I got this. Excited about what's next, asking a question about what's next. But then every time she would do something, we would try to help her. She would say, "I got this. I got it. I got it. I got it." So that was her mantra, and she says that now that she feels like whatever she speaks into existence, whatever she speaks out of her mouth, she can achieve and she can do those things. And I tell people that I talk to, and when I talk to you, I use that example of Trayana, not of myself, that if you set your mind to anything, you can't be anything you want to be. You can be anything that you set your mind on and you work hard to become.
okay, I like
So many
that.
times we hear you can be anything you want to be.
No, you can't.
But like my dad said, nothing's gonna fall in your lap. You got to go out and get it. So
Faith
I think,
without works is dead.
yeah, faith without works is dead, man. So I greatly appreciate everything and everything that Trayana has brought to her life, man. She's our gift. She's our leader, and we follow her lead.
Yep. And actually, I think probably she was your inspiration with this because, you know, and I think in probably what 2013, I think you started Protect Your Skull.
Yeah, that was 2013, and actually the inspiration behind that, man, came from myself and my business partner, Foster Wilkins, man, my brother. I say business partner, but my brother, Foster Wilkins.
Okay.
We both played football together at Fayetteville State University. We both Broncos. He was a senior my freshman year. He was one of the captains on the team, and some years ago, around 2013, we met each other and saw each other during homecoming. Still had that brotherhood. Never he really had that close bond, but there was a project that he was working on. I'm a visual artist and graphic designer. That's what my degree was in, visual arts at Fayetteville State. So there was a project he brought to me, and I was working on a project with him, something we were trying to develop. And within that, we started having conversations. I was looking at the concussion lawsuits that were happening with the NFL and the NCAA. He had spent some time coaching at Livingstone College. He had one of his athletes have a severe concussion, and he saw that protocols weren't in place during that time. We started having those discussions. So from there, that sparked Protect Your Skull with both of our heightened interest in making an impact and making lives better through sports. And that gave us that connectivity to sports, what we had a love for, but also being able to impact lives in a positive way, which we saw in the landscape of sports wasn't done at that time. It wasn't born into existence at that time. So when we created Protect Your Skull, we became the first or the world's first awareness brand totally dedicated to promoting concussion awareness and safety in sports.
So how did y'all go about doing that? You know, being the first and being the forerunners of something that was so new at the time, because I think I remember that time they had the movie Concussion with Will Smith and things. So how did y'all, you know, initiate that and go about, you know, spreading awareness?
Faith, man. I'm just gonna start there. Faith. Anytime you start on an endeavor where it hasn't been done before, there's gonna be backlash, and we received some of that. We had coaches not wanting us to come talk to their kids because they said we were scaring them. That was understood during that time. Talking about concussion, it wasn't as open as it is now. You still had that old school mentality. You spoke about it. Get your head in there. Be tough. We used to hear our coaches saying, "You know who this coach is." Our coach James, man, love him to death. But like, he like, is your neck broke? No. Leg broke? No. Get back out there.
Back in there, yeah, yeah.
But that was the mentality we had, and not just Coach James. I love him to death. One of the greatest mentors I've had in my life. That was the mentality of all coaches and all players at that time. ESPN, all you saw were the big hits. Look how many commercials we saw that promoted football with the big hits. You don't see that anymore. But during that time, faith allowed us, and a belief in ourselves, and belief in the vision that God gave us. Foster had a strong belief in what the journey that we were on. I had a strong belief in saying we can make an impact despite these obstacles. And got the name trademark, created a logo, started developing everything ourselves from the website to how we're going to market and brand this thing as an awareness brand. We had ideas of an awareness project. We started going to football camps. Our first football camp was in Fayetteville, North Carolina. We had Tyler Carr come down and film that camp for us. And that was our first journey to go out and make sure we made the lives of young men and young women playing sports that we resonated, that playing the game safer and smarter. The best way to stay on the field, the best way to stay on the court, the best way for coaches to be successful is to make sure that your players are safe, that they are aware of concussions. Don't be afraid of learning about head injuries. Don't be afraid of learning about concussions and playing the game safer and smarter. Proper technique, the way to play the game. Nutrition, which led to the hydration and recovery drinks. Nutrition, how to fuel your body. All those things play a part in you playing the game safer, smarter. And we came up with the mantra, and we decided that our company would hang on the quality of life matters most. After the sport, after the game, your quality of life matters most. When your child leaves that football field, that child may not ever play professionally, but he may be a doctor. He may be a teacher. He may be a lawyer. He may be a community activist. But you give them that opportunity by playing the game they love, get the life lessons from all sports. Because not just football where you see concussion. We learned only early on that in soccer, with young middle school girls hitting the soccer ball, they had a higher rate of concussions than any other sport. But the focus was on football. We learned that more concussions happened in practice than they did in the games because of the repetitive hits, the repetitive blows. And that led to CTE, which we are learning more and more about as the years go by through research about concussions and brain injuries, the repetitive blows to the head, and how that relates to CTE down the road.
And it's funny because you don't see that much, about violent hits now, because it's almost a concentration that they avoid those things. They like with NFL, blow to the head, it's a penalty. Blow to the head, or going low or targeting.
Right.
Time you duck your head, they make it a point. Because of course, now it's different. But I remember, I gotta say this because you mentioned a lot of coaches. I remember Coach Fitzgerald Warren. Once again, one of my greatest coaches. I used to love him. But I remember he wore a pad on his forearm. We was in junior high. He wore a pad on his forearm. And every time we would mess up on the field, he used to come here, he'd grab us by the face mask and boom, hit us in the head. But we didn't feel it, of course, because it was, but once again, it was a blow to the head.
It was a blow to the head.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So, definitely, I'm glad that people like yourself, because I was one of the ones who first thought, oh man, it's getting so soft, no, but once again, you have to protect, because of, then I started reading about players like Andre Waters, who played for the Philadelphia Eagles, who shot himself in the head, and they said he had the brain tissue of an 88-year-old dementia.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then, of course, you got Junior Seau. You got
Seau.
All of these players who are doing these things, and then you wonder why, because of, and once again, not just NFL, through all the rec league, through all the junior high, through all the high school, all the college, all those repetitive blows does take a toll. So once again, I thank you.
And that's where we come in and try to educate everyone. We're not telling you to, hey, you have to make that decision on what your child is prepared for and what he's ready for. But anybody playing pee wee football or playing soccer, I think now in most states, soccer hitting the ball, they moved that age up to around 13 or 14. The Concussion Foundation, which is a national foundation, they're promoting, pushing the age up to tackle football up to around 14 years old, because that's the early stages of development. So the more you listen to blows to the head during that time, the better off your child will be as they get older. You've seen a lot of people not play football until their junior, senior year of high school and be very successful. But at the end of the day, man, it's about playing the game safer and smarter. We're encouraging the growth of the game. We're encouraging flag football. We're encouraging 7-on-7 with head protection. Here in North Carolina, I would like to see 7-on-7 without the helmets, the hard shell helmets, because what happens is we suggest using soft shell helmets, because when you wear the hard shell helmets here in North Carolina and other states that do that without any gear on, I'm a DB, a former DB. Me and a wide receiver going up for the rock, and I'm trying to intercept the ball, the collisions. A lot of times your feet get tangled up. Let's just say I land on the ground and my helmet jams somebody in the rib cage or in the chest area or in the shoulder area, and they don't have any padding on, but I got this hard shell helmet. That helmet does a lot of damage. And I don't think, in a lot of other states, Texas and some other places, they've already said, hey, we're going to play with the soft shell helmets. But I would like to see that done in North Carolina too. Anything that helps these youth athletes be able to achieve their goals after the game is over, off the field, in the classrooms. We want them to succeed. We want them to succeed and excel off the field, off the court, in every area of their lives.
Okay. And before the radio show, and we're going to keep it live on the Facebook. So you went from protect my skull to protect my skull, hydration and recovery. So what was the transition like for that? And what was the inspiration for that transition? And explain what hydration and recovery is.
Man, that was actually Foster Wilkins. He had that vision for the hydration and recovery drink. You talk about protect your skull. We out here talking to youth athletes. We're doing camps. A lot of times, especially football or sports that are outside, you're talking about, man, you're in the heat of the day. And we looked at all the drinks that are on the market right now. A lot of the drinks that we became familiar with, the sports drinks on the market, a lot of them has a lot of sugar with no or minimum nutritional value. And then you also had the energy drinks on the market today, which are very detrimental to your health. As we're finding out more and more about the detriments of the energy drinks that are on the market. And I tell anyone, if you take those energy drinks, and I used to drink them, if you look at the disclaimer on that can, it says if you're under the age of 18, nursing or pregnant, they don't recommend you drinking. Man, if you got to put that on a can, I don't want to drink it.
Okay.
But that was the inspiration behind it initially, was just we want to offer our community, we want to offer athletes, we want to offer everyone a better alternative. And that was the vision that Foster had for the drink, tying it into the brand. It all went together perfectly, seamlessly, to say, hey, we're talking about living a better quality of life. Let's have this hydration and recovery drink. Let's believe in it. Let's have faith in it. We took that initial investment. There was a lot of investing into it without outside investors, just belief in God and that this was going to happen. Foster also tells a story about how we had printouts of the bottles and what the packaging was going to look like before the product was even finished, before it even went down the assembly line, before it was bottled, and all we had were just samples we were tasting. But he had that vision in front of him, and he kept that vision in the home, kept it in his bedroom every night, and now we have hydration and recovery.
All right, and I forgot my last bottle, but I did buy 3 bottles, and I work out, so I did. I can attest to to the effectiveness of the drink, the what we call recovery and working out. So I definitely I have tested the product, and I know the product is to be true. But for our radio listening audience, because we only got about 40 seconds to before we go, how could any of our listeners get the drink if they so want it?
All right, you go to our website, protectyourskull.com, just like that. And you can order the drinks from our website. Go to the store, you can order the drinks. You can also order any of our t-shirts and apparel that we have to help us promote concussion awareness and safety in sports. The drinks they have no sugar, great flavors. We have watermelon, strawberry watermelon, and mango. There's no sugar, no caffeine, low calories, so it's keto friendly.
All right, y'all be back with us next week, 106.9 FM Awesome Radio.
That was awesome, man. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. So, just a couple of comments. Felicia Mitchell, I think, said, "What a beautiful testimony." When we're talking about Trayana, Keith West, I think he said, "Let's talk about it with the conduction." Alana Moore says, "Wow." And my mother, Letta Taylor, puts up the face. I don't know what that emoji means, Mom. But so with the drinks though, like what could you say? Because of course you said it was an initial investment with you and your business partner, no outside investors. How did you guys kind of get that off the ground? Like what did you do to start selling and get your product, and most of all, make money from the product?
Hey man, we had already had that experience. Foster, he already has his business. He's an entrepreneur. He has a care facility right here in the High Point, Greensboro area. Also, me being an entrepreneur, everybody knows about the North Cac and the North Cac Apparel Company. And I started that right out of college. Just having that experience with apparel, experience with retail and sales. We took the drink. I already knew the process with any kind of product just based on that experience. Knowing that we had to develop the product, even though it was a beverage and a new field for us. It's like Master P said, once you learn how to make money, you never forget how to do it. So we took that initial investment, the financial investment, and Foster made a big financial investment into this. We took that investment and we went through the process of finding, hey, we want to do this drink, did the research. Foster found someone that could formulate it. We talked about what we wanted the drink to offer to the public. We wanted no sugar. We wanted to have a great taste and great flavor. We wanted to give the same effects and results that you would get from these energy drinks. So we said, what can we possibly do? So doing our research, they were like, okay, vitamin B, manganese, vitamin C, all those things that you need for hydration, recovery, focus, the electrolytes. Just an amazing process that God blessed us to be able to go through from ground zero. Hey, Rich, from ground zero to be a part of every aspect, from the ingredients to the packaging. Me with the visual arts background, that was exciting for me to be a part of the packaging and being able to write the message that's on the back of the bottle, talking about that we're all about this safer and smarter movement where we're trying to improve the quality of life of everybody in our community, knowing that diabetes in the African American community is very high, or in the South, or just in a lot of communities, diabetes is very high. Knowing that obesity is at a high rate just nationally. Obesity is at a high rate. So no sugar, no caffeine. That was very important to us. But we didn't want to just give you a watered down flavored drink. We wanted to have some awesome nutrients that really gave you that feeling of being revived. And I call it sustainable energy. With energy drinks, you have a drop off. You drink it, with that caffeine and sugar, you get that rush. Then it falls off. You pop another one to go back up again. You see a lot of people that work outside in construction, lawn care, people that do fitness. They drink these drinks and it gives you that rush. I used to do the same thing. Even if you got sleepy, you drink one, you get that rush first thing in the morning. But it was really killing our body on the inside and having ill effects. So yeah, that process, having a retail background, just to answer your question more detailed, having a retail background, knowing that we can sell a product, me being familiar with website development, we knew we could get the product going. Now, it was a matter of, and this is a suggestion I would give to anyone.
Okay.
When you create a brand or a product, really create it on how can I make the lives of others better. Don't do it based on profit. Don't do it based on how much fame you can gather from it, for lack of a better phrase, notoriety, accomplishments. Can I make the lives of other people better? If you do that, when Christ say walk in love, and I leave you with only this one covenant to walk in love, that's a part of love. I'm walking in the love for my community. I'm walking in the love for those around me. I love sports. I love athletes. I want them to be successful. So how can I take big brands and what they're creating and offer something, not in a niche, but offer something better than what they're offering? There's a lot of great products out there, but I stand on ours and what we do. And that love for making our community better, our family members, our friends, those the youth in our community, the athletes that are playing at a collegiate, high school, or professional level, those that are living active lifestyles, the elderly in our communities, our youth that may not be playing sports, but also our military men and women. We wanted to create a product that universally people can genuinely make their lives better. And we felt like we had that, man. It had to taste good too.
Yeah, it definitely tastes good. They got the mango and the strawberry?
Strawberry watermelon.
Yeah, the mango and the strawberry watermelon. I think I had 2 mangoes and 1 strawberry watermelon. But one thing that you said, even about the message on the back, and it's not about, like you said, it's the money. It's about really informing and keeping the community aware of, how to play sports, but also how to protect yourself and, preserve that quality of life. So, man, that's awesome because, a lot of products are not out to preserve life. Like you mentioned the energy drinks, and I had to look up the energy drinks one time because one of my supervisors said, "Yeah, y'all keep drinking them energy drinks. It's going to destroy your kidneys or something like that." It was something that they were found to do that was not healthy. So it's good to have people who are, once again, doing something that's healthy, but also doing something that's bringing awareness to something. So y'all started that when, in 2018?
Yeah, we started the process, I think, around 2016, 2017. And I think everything was finalized and we received our first drop around 2018, around the end of 2018, going into 2019.
All right, so you gotta explain to us layman's what a drop is. The first shipment of.
Hey, look, the first shipment. Shipment. Hey, look, that's when they say the new album dropped.
Okay.
To put it in a music term. Or hey, look, the new Jordans just dropped.
Okay. That was the first drop.
That was the first drop.
Okay.
Yeah. So you talking about then? I'm gonna tell you this too, man. I would be remiss if I don't mention to all of you included, that supported us and believed in us and purchased our product, even when the shipping and handling is so expensive because you're ordering cases and we're doing this independently. This is like, and I use Master P for an example, or anyone that has had a vision. I'm talking about my dad who had a lawn service. A lot of people we got uncles that had lawn service. We got aunts that do hair. We got aunts that are entrepreneurs. Women in our community, men in our communities have been entrepreneurs. You take it back to Black Wall Street. Anything like that, that's the essence of who we all are. You in this radio show and how you're impacting lives out in the community, in correctional facilities. That's that essence of wanting to give back, wanting to do something great, that hustle that we all have in us that went back to Madam C.J. Walker. All that is in us. So that's the essence of believing in yourself. So I thank all of you who have supported us, made the purchase, made repetitive purchases, Because when we talk about, and this is another thing I don't want to harp on, but I got to say this.
Nah, go ahead. Let's get it out.
Because as a black male,
Mm-hmm.
or if you want to say African American male, coming from the African American community, when you talk about supporting black businesses, too often you have, and this is no hate on anyone, this is just my opinion on where I go and how I do business and how I feel about it.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to support my brand, my product, and support me based on the best quality product that I can give you. I don't want support just for support and then I give you something halfway done.
Okay.
I've always been about quality. And I try not to market and brand and advertise, say, hey, support black businesses. I've done it in the past now. Not saying I haven't, because you want that support and you want the community to support each other. But my biggest thing is, if I create a great product for you, and if I can make your life better, and if you're buying an alternative, give me a chance.
Mm-hmm.
The same way you support a major brand that may be on television, able to advertise, whether it be Coca-Cola, Pepsi, and half the drinks on the market or 3/4 of the drinks on the market might have a different name, but if you look on that can, it's going to say Pepsi Cola Company, it's going to say PepsiCo, or it's going to say Coca-Cola. Great brands. I applaud them because I'm inspired by those companies and those brands. But when you have a Protect Your Skull, and when you have our drink, hydration and recovery, and when you have other people out there creating great brands and great products, I'm asking you to hold me accountable. If my product is not worthy, if my product is not great, if my packaging is not up to par, that's the feedback I want, because that drives me to be great. That drives me to give you the best I can possibly give you, because my service is to you. My service is to my brothers, my sisters, my neighbors. Love thy neighbor. My service is to you. So for me to provide the best service to you, I need that constructive criticism. I push myself every day. Foster pushes himself every day. How can I live intentional and be the best that I can possibly be? I say to any young man, any young woman, first and foremost, walk in the essence of what God created you to be. Don't chase greatness. Realize that God already created you to be great. All you have to do is walk in your greatness. Even if you can't see it and there's a wall of darkness in front of you, sometimes God will guide you in the darkness because of the greatness that's inside of you. It's like a navigational system. And it's also like a magnetic pull that's going to pull everything into your circle that is meant for you. So that's how I live my life.
Hey man, I'm telling you, I'm about ready to pass around the collection plate because you were speaking to me, right? Definitely speaking to me, man. And that's something to meditate on, because so often, like you said, people want to chase something. You know, they want to chase, income. They want to chase, like you said, notoriety. They want to chase success, not realizing that, God has already put, everything that you need is right here.
Hey, Richard, this is something all of us can relate to. And Christ always talked to us in parables and talked to us in simple terms to where we can understand it. What happens when you get in a rush? And I'm going to give just this one example. Sometimes when you're rushed out of the house, how many times have you rushed out and forgot your keys? So if we rush into life and we chase things in life, sometimes we forget our keys, and those keys are going to open the door to what God has for us. So don't rush through life. Don't chase greatness, because sometimes you may forget that key that's going to open that next door.
I'm telling you, man, that's deep. That's deep. Felicia Mitchell says, great knowledge and wisdom, sir. May God bless you in abundance. Definitely.
Thank you, sir, man. Continue blessings to everyone on the call.
All right. And we're going to get into, because the other night, it was last night, I caught a little bit of your podcast with you and another great brother from Goldsboro, Fernando Best. Sly, yeah, Sly. Everybody know him. I knew him as Sly. You know, but actually, no, I actually knew him as Fernando first. I used to love
Yeah,
him.
Rondo best. Yeah.
Yeah, Ferrando. So you guys have a podcast, Seeds of Leadership. Now explain that name and what inspired you guys to do that, but also what is your intentions with that podcast.
Man, I'm gonna tell you, man. We talked about brotherhood, and this is one guy, man. We couldn't be any more different in our past lives, but the brotherhood and where we are now. Um, there's only a few people that I hold close to me, as close as I hold Sly. All of that comes from the seeds of leadership. Comes from what you've seen of me, what I've tried to do in my community here in Charlotte, also what I've done in giving back in Goldsboro, North Carolina. And I say that, and I appreciate everyone who's ever assisted me over the past 4 years through your donations, your giving. Whenever we gave back to the soup kitchen in Goldsboro, North Carolina, we look at the last 4 years, we fed close to 1,000 people in Goldsboro, North Carolina. All of us did that collectively. If you know of me, if you're one of my classmates, one of my friends, somebody from Goldsboro, North Carolina who said, I want to pour into his platform without a nonprofit, which I have a nonprofit now, Dream Beyond Fear that we're developing, but just solely off what we talked about earlier, what that Coach Lee said, solely off the character of that individual. I believe in what he's saying, and I don't take it for granted. People have really supported me in my support for Goldsboro. And Sly's done the same thing in his community there in Elkin, North Carolina, with his nonprofit, I Support My Community. And you can't say it better than that. His nonprofit, the name, I Support My Community.
Support my community.
That's it. So a few years ago, our brother, mutual brother, Mike Moore, reintroduced.
Shout out to Mike. I see Big Mike
Shout
at
out
the
to
gym.
Mike.
Shout out to Mike Moore. What's up, Mike Moore?
Yeah, Mike is another one of my brothers for life, man. He reintroduced us, man, because Sly was doing a lot with athletes, youth athletes there in Elkin, North Carolina. He's a coach. Like I said, he has a nonprofit. And he said, Sly, Tracy has this protect your school. You guys kind of need to link up. And both of you guys think on the same wavelength, man. I think you brothers need to hook back up. So we made a few phone calls. We exchanged conversations. And that bond just grew from there. He supported me in Foster and allowed us to come to one of his great camps that he had there where different counties, I think it was 7 or 8 different counties, if I'm not mistaken, came together for this big jamboree, football jamboree, where it was a camp. There were games. We were able to talk to parents about concussions, talk to the athletes about playing the game safer and smarter. And it led from there. Whenever I would go back home to Goldsboro, North Carolina, and do any kind of mission in support of the soup kitchen in Goldsboro, he was right there. Whenever we took the children, I think a few years ago when the Black Panther movie came out, I put out a challenge and a GoFundMe, and everyone from the community helped me to take over 300 kids within North Carolina to go see the movie Black Panther. And I was able to talk to those kids about leadership and talk to them about overcoming the obstacles that lay before you by being able to see through that wall that's in front of you and believing in yourself and believing in whatever God gave you to see you through your journey. Sly was right there for that. We took some of the kids in his community to go see Black Panther. So we've developed that relationship. Now our families are close. Our wives began to communicate. So now it's truly a family atmosphere with me and him. And Sly would always say, man, we have to do something together to give back to the community. It started with us trying to do something in Goldsboro, North Carolina. We created a GoFundMe. We want to put a building in Goldsboro, North Carolina to be a multi-faceted, situational building there where we could educate, where we could take kids off the streets and give them something that they can really enhance their lives for. Want them to have a place to get away, kind of like we used to do at the Boys Club.
Yeah.
It was a way to get away and a way to get away from the violence and a way to grow. And that led to us just overall saying, you know what, with all the great things that we're doing, all these seeds that we're trying to plant and nurture through different areas of our lives and different communities, let's create the seeds of leadership. And that's where it started, man, through our bond and our love of each other, our brotherhood, and I respect him so much. I learned so much from him. I learned so much from Foster Wilkins. I'm learning from you tonight. I'm a great listener. I like to learn. It's rare that I get the opportunity to be able to speak this way and be comfortable in speaking. So I hope it's being received and it's receptive, and I hope it's being a blessing, because I'm truly speaking from the heart. I only know one way, and that's to be genuine. And that also ignites the bond that I had with Sly, the bond that I had with my brother Foster Wilkins in the Protect the Skull. But with Sly, this season of leadership, we want to be able to talk about different subjects. We want to be able to talk about different viewpoints. We want to hear from people in the community. We want to hear from listeners in the way that you're doing now. And I greatly appreciate your platform, because what we are doing, and this is the way you're planting that seed of leadership, in that we're allowing voices to be heard. We're allowing ideas to be exchanged. I always say visualize and create your world. We're allowing ourselves to be able to visualize and create. And that's what we did with Seeds of Leadership, to be able to take the topics in our community that mean the most to our community, and topics that may expand outside of our community, and say, how can we plant these seeds that get deeply rooted first before they sprout? So let's get deeply rooted in the things that are going to allow us to grow, allow us to have a harvest. But we got to get deeply rooted first, and that's what Seeds of Leadership is all about.
Seeds, planting those seeds. Now, you mentioned what areas that do you feel, in your opinion, need to be addressed, the most, when we're talking about, fixing some of the issues in the community?
Self-love. Self-love, a lot of times you talk about the individual, but I also talk about self-love when it comes to community. When I'm talking to Richard, I'm talking to myself. I'm not going to take a gun and point it at myself if I'm in my right mindset, if I'm in a place of love. So if I see Richard as I see myself, no matter what disagreement we have, no matter what different journeys we have in life, no matter what our perspectives are, I'm not going to look at him and say, I'm going to take his life. I'm not going to look at my woman and not appreciate her. I'm not going to look at a woman in my community and not love her and cherish her and appreciate her. I'm not going to see someone who needs assistance in my community and not be there for them. So self-love, not individual love, but self-love when it comes to our community, that's the biggest area I would start at, man. Because with self-love, I'm going to tell you something. And I'm no pastor. Jesus gave us a cheat code. And I'm going to put that in language terms. He gave us a cheat code. A lot of us know what a cheat code is. That means it gives us easy access to be successful. Whether you play a game or whatever, Jesus gave us a cheat code. You don't have to know the 10 Commandments. You don't have to go to the Old Testament. I leave you with one covenant: love. Now I ask you, what of the 10 Commandments am I not going to keep if I'm walking in love? If I'm walking in love, I'm keeping all of them, Rich. I'm keeping all of them because I'm walking in love in the true definition of love, not my definition of love, the word's definition of love and brotherhood and honoring their neighbor and loving your neighbor. If we walk in self-love in our community, the youth won't kill each other. The youth won't find ways to say, this is my street, this is my hood, this is my territory. And it may seem like a dream. Like Biggie said, it was all a dream. Martin Luther King said, I have a dream. To me, those are the same brothers. So what you asked me, where would I start? Self-love, I would start there, because if we love each other, if we love the women in our community, if we love the young men, the young women in our community, if we love each other as brothers with that self-love, then we can begin to build together financially. We can begin to educate each other. We can begin to start to build and strategize together. We can begin to invest together because that love is there. We can begin to say, how can we grow outside of our community? How can we sustain our community? How can we grow our communities and start business in our communities that will sustain itself rather than having outsiders come in and build our community? I won't have to have a convenience store in my community that I'm gonna trip over. I'm gonna trip over the wine. I'm gonna trip over Black and Miles. I'm gonna trip over all that stuff. I can't even take my card out and pay for gas or pay for a drink because I got to move the Black and Miles over. I got to get the wine out the way so I can get to the card reader. But if I go to another community, I got to go look for the wine. They got it in there, but I'm gonna have to go find it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to trip over it in my community. I'm not going to trip over the things that kill my community. It's like, hey, come drink this. Come eat this unhealthy food. Come drink this wine. Come drink this beer. Before I can get into the store or a community, I'm telling you what alcohol is on sale. And I'm not knocking anybody that's drinking. What I'm saying is anything that takes away from us, and when we do things in excess, that takes away from our health, that takes away from the love that we have for each other, that takes a man out of his household, that takes a woman out of our household, that allows a woman to degrade herself, that allows a man to degrade a woman, to allows a man or a woman to think less of themselves, to think you can't be there for your children, to not have high self-esteem. It all starts with self-love. From self-love, I can educate, I can grow, I can grow financially. I apologize. With self-love, there's so much I can do. And that's the passion I have for my community, man. I apologize, but
Nah, you good because you know what? Like when I saw you at the Memorial Day celebration downtown at the parade, and when I sat there and spoke with you about the drinks, and I got my drinks, and like when you came around the table, you was just like, yo, you know, whatever it is you need, and this is just a testimony to how you walk, testament on how you walk in love. Like you came and you told me, you know, whatever you need, man. You know, you can call me anytime, you know, just to talk, man. We need to love each other. Like this, you know, this is not something he just saying on the show, because I hadn't seen this brother probably since you were, you know, the days I used to watch you on the field or whatnot. But he was like, literally, man, bro, like, we need to do something. You know, I think it was another brother there. I forget who was right there with us, but you said you need to do something because we got to do something. Like, right. You did say I love you. You said I love you. We don't hear that enough, you know, and that's nothing soft because that's what the Bible says. It says love covers a multitude of sins, and all the things that you mentioned, you know, were sins. But if we walk in love, self-love, or love for each other, we don't have to worry about none of that stuff you're talking about because, you know, faith, hope, and charity or love. But the greatest of these is love, man. So, like you said, you know, a couple of Lionel Moore says, don't apologize, let God use you. Once again, Felicia Mitchell says, you know, no need for apologies, heartfelt love it. And I've been there, like I've actually, you know, been the same way, like crying, like, what can I do? You know, because you see those things and shit like you're talking about, men outside of the home, women outside of the home, women degrading themselves, men degrading their women, children with no fathers, children with no mothers, right. You know, people in spiritual bondage and strongholds about these things because we're not loving ourselves. We don't have that self-esteem. And, you know, it's like you said, it's hard to put in words sometimes, you know, because it seems like sometimes a lot of cases without walking in love that we have become willing participants, as somebody put it, in our own destruction.
Yeah.
As in, go ahead.
Yeah, and I agree with you, man. A lot of the things that it's easy to point fingers. It's easy to get in an uproar. It's easy and it's warranted when somebody comes into our community and does something to one of our own. But it's almost as hurtful or even more hurtful.
It'd be more hurtful.
When we continue to do it to ourselves and there's no uproar.
There's no outrage, right?
There's no outrage. I'm not saying that we don't hear it and we don't see it, but I would, man, just love to see a situation where that self-love takes over and we're there for each other in our communities. And to all of the young men and young women that may be listening, to any of the parents that have children in high school or middle school or elementary school, I would love for you to let them listen to this and hear me tell them how much I love them. I don't know how far that'll go, but sometimes a child doesn't hear that someone outside loves them and that there's a true love in the world. And my voice may not resonate, but to somebody it will. It was something that we said with Protect Your Skull when we were doing our first initial video years ago. And I remember saying in the video, if I can just touch one life, if we can just save one life, then the mission that God has me on is worth it. So it goes back to my father saying, you keep your name good. You always do others the way you want to be done yourself. And that's what it's all about for me, man, that walk with Christ. That walk with Christ is not a perfect walk, but my focus is on love each and every day. Through my mistakes, through my missteps, my focus is still on love. It keeps me calibrated. I'm able to get my balance when I focus back on love. Even when I make a misstep, that's what Christ is there for. And I heard somebody at the barbershop years ago said, man, it can't be no simpler than that, man. They say, all you got to do is love, man. You mean tell me all this stuff going on, all I got to do is love? And once again, I say, if you walk in true love, the love that the word speaks on, what is not covered if you walk in love? I'm not going to be hot-headed. I'm not going to get mad at Rich because he believes something I don't believe. I'm not going to get upset and want to take somebody's life. All those things, man. Even the simple things of being able to listen to each other, being able to love my woman, my wife, being able to love your husband, being able to love your significant other, your partner, whatever your relationship may be, being able to hear them. And we talked about marriage and me and my wife being married for 22 years. And there was one thing that she said to me, and this is, we've been through the ups and downs. Mm-hmm. We've been through the terrible sides of relationship that others have experienced, but may not have seen from us. But that's what makes our bond stronger, the challenges we went through. And the advice that I would give to anyone in a marriage, anyone in a relationship, new or old, is to understand that sometimes people say, man, they're not who they used to be. Mm-hmm. Marriage is an evolution. And me and my wife have been together since early 20s, very young. I'm talking about 22 years coming up. I'm 48 years old. You talking about there has to be an evolution there. People change. But what you have to do is, and what I've learned to do, and I'm not going to tell anybody what they have to do. What I've learned to do in my perspective is realize that Keisha has evolved. She's changed. She's a new creature. Even if she turns into a new creature every day, the basis and foundation of our relationship is love. So therefore, with that love I have tied to her and that love and honor that she has tied for me, we don't set roles for ourselves. I know that every day, if she says, today I like fried chicken, tomorrow I don't. I like going dancing tonight, tomorrow I don't. I like hanging out. I like traveling, tomorrow I don't. I'm evolving with that because those are the things that are fleshly that are going to change every day. But as long as we have a genuine respect for each other, a genuine love for each other, I can evolve to be the best man I can be for her. I've learned to be that through her. There's an evolution with me as a man. I evolved to learn how to be the best father for Shayla. I had to evolve to learn how to be the best father for Trayon. I evolved as a father to learn how to be there for my son, TJ. When I had girls first, they softened me up. Son last. So, that was a challenge within itself. Yeah. But I had to evolve and learn how to be a new parent. My dad got the belt out. That discipline was that belt. Yeah. Discipline was that stern word. But now that belt, that's not the way I can discipline my kids. Mm-hmm. I have to communicate. I have to be patient. I have to explain things. Where some parents may say, I don't have time to explain things. Whatever way that you can reach your child in the best possible way, I suggest to anyone, no way to reach your child is the wrong way, as long as you're reaching them in love. That's it. I would never tell anyone how to discipline their children. I'm just talking about how I evolved as a parent, not to get off on that. But the evolution of relationships. My relationship with Richard is going to evolve from when we met, when you described how we met Memorial Day weekend, and kind of learn each other off that initial to where we're communicating now. When you just call me and say, hey, you want to talk tomorrow night? And I told you I'll be there. So I'm here.
Yeah.
So, and it's going to evolve further from here. There's no telling what we're going to do together in the future. And I'm excited about that. I'm excited about what I can do in the Goldsboro community. I'm excited about what I want to do here in Charlotte. I'm excited for the journey that God has me on. I'm excited to read on social media what Richard just achieved, what he just accomplished, what lives he just changed. Your sister Camille, your father, everybody in your family, man. I'm excited about what your nieces, your nephews, anybody in your circle is going to achieve in their lives. I'm happy and excited about the relationship your mother and father had, man. And that genuine relationship that I also see in my mom and dad. When you talk about people being together for 40, 50 years, and overcoming these things, our grandparents who did the same thing. So that self-love, man, that extends so far, man, into our communities through education, through the foundation of love, through financial literacy, to all the things we can teach our kids about being entrepreneurs, about trying to develop your gifts into being able to be something that's sustainable for you in your life, and do it all in love. If you do something you love to do, you'll never work a day.
Never work a day in your life. You have to follow. I've heard it say, if you follow your passion, then the pension will fall. Definitely. So, man, it's been a pleasure having you. You know, I'm not going to keep you up too late. I know Trayana still got something to show you. So, but if there's anything else you want to leave with our audience before you go, man, please feel free.
Yeah, man, once again, I just want to say thank you to everyone. Thank you to everyone who's ever been a part of my life, crossed my path, to all of my friends, family members, classmates, coaches. I've talked about my coach Harper briefly before we had that first call, but all those things I learned from him. My coach Harper, who was in college, man, the one thing he told us was just manufacture a win in your life. In sports, we talk about the fourth quarter. When we were standing on the sidelines, if we got to the fourth quarter, we would throw those fingers up. And that's what we got to do in life every day. We got to know that if we can just get to the fourth quarter, as Coach Harper told us, we can manufacture a win. That goes beyond the football field. That goes beyond sports. In life, there's going to be adversity. There's going to be loved ones we lose. There's going to be houses, cars. There's going to be material things that are lost along the way. There are going to be friendships that are lost. But if you hold tight to God, you hold tight to love, and you walk in that manifestation of it, you will win. When the fourth quarter is over and you look at the scoreboard, you're going to be on top.
Thank you so much, man. What a great show tonight, Felicia Mitchell said. And I'm going to end the prayer show with a prayer, if you don't mind.
No problem.
All right, Father, we just thank you for this opportunity that we had to share of your goodness and your mercy, to fellowship with one another on this platform. We thank you for every good and perfect gift that cometh from you. We thank you, Lord, for your blessings. We thank you, Lord, for the blood of your Son, Jesus Christ. And we thank you, Lord, for forgiveness and salvation. Father, Lord, we ask, oh Father, Lord, that every word that we spoke would be taken in context, and oh Father, Lord, that it will reach the people that you would have it to reach, that it would change lives, that it will manufacture love throughout this community. Oh Father, Lord, we ask that your continuous blessings upon my brother in every endeavor that he undertakes, that it will prosper, that everything that his hands touch it will be anointed to grow, and wherever his feet tread, that you will already be giving it to him. Father, Lord, we pray that no weapon formed against him or his family will prosper, and that you will keep him safe in all that he does. And we just ask, so Father, Lord, that your will continue to be done, and not only his life, but in the lives of everybody under the listening sound of my voice. And we thank you for these things, and we continuously praise you for your grace and your mercy, and also for your love. In the name of your son, Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen, man. And my sentiments exactly, I ask God to continue to cover you, your family, your platform, every step that you take on your journey. I pray that it's blessed.
All right. And one more question though. So did you guys decide not to go forth with that building in Goldsboro, or is that still in the works?
Man, that's still in the works because it's on paper.
Okay.
It's still in the works. Those things that we're trying to do is still in the works. Once the resources are there and God sees a time that's going to be fit, that's still our goal. And we're going to see it through.
Just let me know if anything that I can do to help. Just say the word, bro, and I'm here.
Yeah. And if anybody wants to reach me, any information on Protect Your Skull, go to protectyourskull.com. You can find the drinks and apparel, information on concussions. Follow us on Twitter at PYSkull, and you can follow us on Instagram at Protect Your Skull as well. Follow me on Facebook, Tracy Suggs, Instagram, Tracy Suggs. But I greatly appreciate all of you.
Thank y'all, man, so much. Thank y'all, everybody, for listening. Thank you for all the comments. Once again, I can't read them all, but I thank you guys for listening each week. Y'all have a blessed night and a prosperous week. God bless and good night.